Hello, in this video we're going to explain how to navigate Logisim and use it to simulate the basic logic gates as a start. First of all, let's explain the areas and the buttons or the toolbar, etc. that is necessary before we begin. So first of all, we have here the toolbar. By default, you're selecting the cursor. The cursor will allow you to place components in the circuit or the board, adjust them, adjust the wiring between components, or basically do any edits to your circuit, placing labels, etc. Once you're done with the connection of the circuit, you can test it by clicking on the hand button here to modify the values of inputs and then read the output through the output pin. So the cursor or the button here will allow you to edit the values of the inputs between 0 and 1 and so on. The letter A here will allow you to place text. For example, you can write your name as a label or student ID and so on. Okay, use the letter A with this button only to place text that you want to stay constant or at a particular location throughout your design. I'd recommend using it only for the title of the circuit that you're doing, or a brief description, or maybe your student name and ID. What we have here is what's called an input pin. The input pin will allow you to feed in different inputs to your circuit. See, I'm gonna select the hand to control the value of the input. Okay, while using the hand, I can only change the values of input pins. In order to move things around or do connections, I have to click on the cursor again. Okay, you can place the basic gates from here. Let's start with the inverter, for example, and then I will also place an output pin. The circle here is the output pin. If you forget ever, you can check that the setting of it is output. So it says output, yes, this means this is an output pin. If you change it, it will become an input. Okay, see, it changed to a square. That means it's now an input pin. I'm gonna change it back to yes, it is an output pin. Now I will do the connection between the pin and the gate, the output of the gate and the output pin. Okay, you can move things around just to ensure that they're connected. You can zoom in or out through the arrow here. You can click on the up arrow or the down arrow to zoom in or out. One last thing regarding the pins, we have to assign pins values. So I'm going to select the input pin and label it, for example, A. The input is A, Y is A bar. So I'm going to write A bar. Okay, this is how to do basic connections in Logisim. One thing that is by default already on in Logisim is to enable the simulation. It's by default enabled, but if in case you accidentally disable it or click Ctrl and E, you can simply re-enable it by going to the simulate menu and then click simulation enabled. To save your work, you can just save it like in any other software. Just click File, Save As, or File Save. But to open a circuit or a Logisim file, it is not possible for you to double-click the file on your computer, but rather you have to open Logisim software first and then go to File, Open. Or if you just saved it recently, you can click Open Recent and locate the file that you want to open. Okay, now I'm going to select everything by clicking Ctrl A and then pressing Delete from the keyboard. I already placed text earlier that is dedicated for a task that I want to simulate. So we're going to start with simulating the NOT gate. I already did this one with you, but I'll redo it real quick. We want to do y is equal to A not, or not A. Y is equal to A bar. So for that, we need one input pin. That's the square pin. I will label it A, lowercase a. We need the NOT gate because it's not A, right? And we will connect A to the input pin of the gate. See where the blue dot here? That is where I have to make the connection. I also have a green dot here, so this is where I must do the connection. If I do it outside the scope, it won't work. I have to connect things properly. Okay, I'm gonna now connect an output pin here by placing the circular pin. It's an output pin, and then changing the label to Y. Or I can be more detailed, I will say A bar, Y is equal to A bar. Okay, I'm gonna click on the hand just to test my circuit. I know that the NOT gate inverts the input. So if the input is 0, the output must be 1. I only have 2 cases, so let me try them all. The second case is if the input is 1, the output is 0. So this verifies the accuracy of my connection for the first task. Okay, now I will do the second task by connecting the 2-input AND gate. I will first place an AND gate. Okay, if I want a 2-input AND gate, I will click on the gate and then check the settings here, look for the number of inputs. I'm gonna change it to only 2 inputs. Number of inputs, change it to 2. Don't confuse the data bits with the number of inputs. Okay, this is the thing that you want to change. Okay, if I'm new to this, I might want to label the gate itself just to help me remember that it's actually an AND gate. That's the symbol for the AND gate, but it's optional. Now I will see that there is only 2 dots here, blue dots. This indicates that I must do only 2 connections, A and B, or the 2 inputs, right? And then do the wiring by clicking on one end here for the input pin, and then dragging and dropping at the connection or the first input. This is input A, so I'm gonna add a label to it. I will put the second pin connected, put the output pin connected, and label things. So this is B, I'm gonna click on it once. Okay. Second. I'm selecting more than one thing because of the line at the bottom. So let me place it again, real quick. Okay, so this is the second input. The label for it is B. The output is Y is equal to A and B. Y is equal to A and B. In Boolean expression, multiplication is expressed, ANDing is expressed as multiplication. So A and B. We never say A times B, we say A and B. Okay. I'm only gonna do the 4 input AND gate, but the 2 input OR is the same as what we just did here. We're gonna place the OR gate, all right? Change the settings by adjusting the number of inputs and so on. So let me do instead the 4 input AND gate. I'm gonna remove this task, so I'll let you do it on your own to practice. So let's do the 4 input AND gate. You can just place it from scratch, or you can copy the gate itself if you have it by selecting it, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, or right-click copy, right-click paste, and then adjust the settings or the number of inputs to 4. We want to simulate a 4-input AND gate. It's important that you change the number of inputs first before you do any connections, otherwise you might run into issues, all right, in terms of shorting wires or leaving inputs open by accident. Now that I have changed the number of inputs, it is clear for me where I need to do the connections. Here, 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 and here. And this is the output. So I'm going to move it a bit to the right side, place 4 input pins. I'm going to place 1 and then copy it 4 times, or 3 times actually. Copy, paste, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. It is helpful if you do the connection slightly, place the pins slightly away from each other, just to avoid any overlapping and to have things clearer to examine or to check. Okay, and this is the 4th input. I'm gonna drag the AND gate slightly away, label the pins one by one, click the pin, change the label setting to B, and then repeat for the rest. This is C, and this is D. Avoid using this to place labels, because if you move, this is an example, if you move the pin, the label will not move along with it. So to label pins, change the setting of the pin by simply clicking on it, and then check where you see label, type the label that you want. The last thing I'm going to place is the output pin, and then connect it, label it as Y is equal to A, B, C, D. If you want, you can change the location of the label. I'm going to move it to the south, so it will be below the pin. Okay, I'm going to run test, just ensure that simulation is enabled, and then click on the hand to allow you to modify the input values and alter them. I know that the AND gate outputs 1 when only all the inputs are 1. Here I have 0 and 0, the output is 0, 0 and 1 is 0, 1 and 1 is 1, which is true, 0 and 1 is 0. So I have tested all the possible cases for the two-input AND gate here. Let me repeat, or actually do a new test on the 4-input AND gate. I know that the output must be 1 only when all the inputs are 1. See? Any other case should output a 0 for me. Otherwise, something could be wrong. Something must be wrong that I need to fix. I'm gonna just instruct you on how to do some modifications if necessary without having to restart from the beginning. Okay, so I'm gonna click on the cursor to do some edits. I'm gonna change this to an OR gate. So what I can do, instead of doing things from scratch, I will copy this part. Okay, I didn't copy the AND gate. I will place an OR gate somewhere here, change the number of inputs to 2. Okay, now the location of the inputs remain the same. They're aligned with the AND gate, except I want to connect them here. Now what I did is A or B, so I will fix the label for the output. It's just A plus B, or A or B when we read it as a Boolean expression. So this is what I did. What I did here is actually a 2-input OR. Okay. Another thing that's very handy in Logisim is zooming in and out. I already have zoomed in, so it's clear for you. You can zoom out easily, move things around, select some parts, just like with some other software. You can also select the gate. This can be useful in depending on the complexity of the circuit, and then change the size of the gate. So one of the options is gate size. You can change it to narrow, so it's now a smaller gate. It's the same gate, the size of it is small, so it won't take much of the space of the board itself that you're working with. Okay, but you might need to adjust the connection. So for the AND gate, you have three different sizes: narrow, medium, and wide. Let me do it, make it narrow, and then do the connection again. To ensure that you haven't messed up anything, just move things around just to be safe. Okay. This concludes the tutorial of how to use Logisim and how to place gates, do the connection between them, and then test the circuit with different input values.